So I just realized that my brain, my mind is growing. Um and how people say don't worry about the past, that's the past. And don't worry really about, like, worry about the future for uh the obvious reasons. Worry about your future if you have savings, enough savings. uh but let's say I'm gonna use a prime example for me. um I'm a jiu-jitsu purple belt, and I've been one for a while. And I started jiu-jitsu maybe about 8.5 years ago, almost 9 years ago. And my peers, the ones that we started together, and we're all white belts, blue, purple, uh they're black belts now. um and I'm still a purple belt. Now I'm on the just the on the verge, right on the edge, on the fence to getting my brown belt, because you get these stripes on your belt, and once you have 3 or 4 stripes, the next step is getting a brown belt. But I just came to the realization that everyone's life is different. Like, I moved a lot to different gyms. I moved to different gyms. I moved to different states. And when you move to a different state, you got to start going to a different jiu-jitsu school. And I like training at so many jiu-jitsu schools at the same time. Like, I'm a member at one, but just in my vicinity, around where I live, I look for jiu-jitsu schools so I can visit them and roll with them, and get used to rolling with a lot of bodies. Sparring with a lot of people is where you will. That's your school, really. That's your education. Roll with so many different people. That means you're rolling with so many different styles and stuff. I don't want to get carried away and move too much into the jiu-jitsu lifestyle. I'm just talking about how, like, I've realized that my mind grew in that I used to worry and care about, like, man, my peers have gotten their black belts. How do they look at me? Um, how do I look to them, to all my instructors from before? That I'm not a black belt also. And I'm gonna say right now, I had so much potential. I have a ton of potential still, but just in my mindset, I thought that I just had so much potential. And now that my peers have gotten their black belts, they're looking at me like, oh man, he has so much potential and he's still not a black belt. The journey here is to become a black belt. But emphasis on the journey. The journey. You go through a journey to then get your black belt. But then I looked at it, I was like, okay, they're black belts. Some I've gotten an opportunity to spar with them when they became black belts. And you never say what transpires in the training room, but I do well. I do pretty good. Um but obviously what stuck in my mind, what was engraved in my mind, was that I'm still a purple belt and my peers are black belts. Then I came to the realization in life, there's really never a destination. There's never like, oh, I got somewhere. Now I'm just gonna sit here and bask, and people look at me and oh, he got to that pinnacle. He got there. He got there. And I thought of life like that, and I feel like people think of it that way. And I just came to the realization that I don't think there's destinations, because I was like, let's say I got my black belt, um There's a guy picking up trash, and I don't want to look awkward talking to myself. um, I was like, let's say I got my black belt. You know, back when all my peers got their black belts. Then what? I would still spar with them. I'd still spar with other people. I'd still spar with lower belts. I'd still spar with higher belts. I'd still get my ass whooped. I'd still win. I'd still compete. And if I didn't want to compete, I'd still not compete. I would do a side hustle if I'm a black belt. And as a purple belt, I'll do a side hustle. I want to run and own and open my own jiu-jitsu school. I'm a purple belt, but that's gonna happen. You know, I want that to happen. My blood boils when I think of that. You know, but let's say if I was a black belt 4 years ago, I got promoted to be a black belt. Let's say I got promoted 4 years ago as a black belt, and my dream would still be the same. I'd be like, I want to open a jiu-jitsu school. I'd still say that. It's still me. I'm the same person. I'm an adult. I'm over 18 years old. I am 35 years old. So I can, whether I'm a purple belt or a black belt, I can't say, I want to open a jiu-jitsu school. So it's the same. There's no like, oh, I got to a destination and now a jiu-jitsu school will open itself up. No, it won't. You still have to open it, you know. My skills haven't deteriorated. My skills are the only thing that have stayed in course, you know. But I was just hung up in this like, ah, man, I'm not a black belt yet, when I had the most potential. And okay, yeah, I had potential. And then what, even if I got my black belt 4 years ago, I still had potential 6 years prior to that. So don't get, I just realized to not get hung up on my past, and not to get hung up even on my future. Really, I shouldn't get hung up on my future. Like, oh, I want to have 3 kids and just get hung up on that. No, I have wanted to have a kid since I was literally a kid. Like at 15 years old, I was like, man, as soon as I'm 18, I want to have a kid. And I want to be a young dad and blah, 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 blah. It happened for a short period of time, and then just due to circumstances, lost the baby. And I haven't managed to have to have a baby to this day. For a while I was hung up on it, but I'm not anymore, because even if I did have a kid at 18 and they grew up and you know, right now they'd probably be about 18. Okay, pause on that. Then right now, let's say I have a baby for the first time. I don't have a kid, by the way. But let's say right now I have a kid, then they grow up to be 18. You know, I'm 35 right now. If I have a kid right now, they'll be 53. I mean, I'll be 53 by the time they're 18. Yeah? What did I miss out in those 2 lifestyles, if you will? Had a kid at 18. Now I'm 35. The kid would have been 18 right now. I'm still me, right? Back to the black belt thing. And now I'm 35 and I have a kid right now. At 53, it'll still be me. I can be in good shape. Look at Joe Rogan. I could be in perfect shape at 53. I could be working at 53. I could literally, I could be taking care of my mom. She could still be there. My mom is in good shape also. So there's nothing I really missed out, and nothing I would have missed out had I had a kid at 18. So, I probably just was blubbering to some people, but maybe to one person, it got to them that just because this message was actually for jiu-jitsu people, just because you are a white belt for 3 years, and your peer, and there's a friend of yours that you started together, and it's been 3 years, and they're purple belts. Don't get hung up on that. You know what you should get hung up on? The fact that you have trained jiu-jitsu for 3 years. For 3 years, you've been in a lifestyle that you like. For 3 years, you've been just submitting people. You don't have a business submitting. You know you can get yourself out of a physical altercation unscathed. You know that. Be hung up on that, you know? You know that even though you've been a white belt for 3 years, you know that you've improved. You know that there's people who used to kick your ass and now you're even. And now they don't kick your ass as much. And now don't get hung up on, you shouldn't get hung up on what other people are accomplishing, even if you were destined to do that also. Just you know that you're doing this part for you, but not in comparison with other people. When I came to that realization, it just dawned on me just randomly, literally today. It kind of bled into all my other life situations. Say, like in relationships, whenever a relationship would end, it would sting for a while. For a while, it would sting, and I'm like, man, I wish I was like other people. Some other people who just, it's done and it's done. They're done. Yeah, it hurts. You reminisce, but for me, it lasted for a while. But it's because I was hung up on that life with that girl, or the lifestyle with that girl. And me being hung up, it froze everything else, and I'm just focusing on that. Just fuck, man, how the fuck dare she do this? And it's ended, bro. It's already ended. Let it go. It's just it has ended. You can grieve, but don't get hung up. Don't get hung up on shit.